It started as a typical Saturday night, hosting a casual barbecue in our backyard with some cold beers flowing and friends chatting amid the smoky aroma from the grill. My husband, Ryan, had asked his old college buddy, Jake, to come over, someone he'd mentioned fondly for ages. Jake was impossible to overlook the moment he arrived. Tall, powerfully built, self-assured, the sort of guy who naturally commanded attention without any effort. He had a great sense of humor, and you could see how everyone gravitated toward him whenever he opened his mouth. I kept telling myself I wasn't drawn to him in that way, yet I certainly registered his presence. That evening, a single offhand remark almost wrecked everything between Ryan and me. Jake was going on about his recent gains at the gym, grinning while he showed off his arms to the group. "You're turning into a giant, dude," another friend ribbed, and Jake just chuckled and shrugged. Something snapped in me, perhaps the drinks or the relaxed vibe, but I suddenly piped up, "Yeah, no wonder they nicknamed him Huge Jake." The whole crowd erupted in amusement. Ryan gave a brief grin, but I caught how his fingers gripped his bottle a little harder. One of the guys poked fun at him, asking, "Feeling threatened?" Instead of dropping it, I foolishly piled on. Seriously, next to Jake, pretty much every other guy seems tiny. The chuckles that came after sounded forced and uneasy. I noticed Ryan's jaw locked tight, yet I pretended everything was fine and carried on. From then on, the evening turned awkward. Ryan grew strangely silent. In the car ride back, he stayed completely mute. The music from the dashboard was the only sound, but the atmosphere inside felt suffocating. As soon as we pulled into the driveway, he headed directly to our room. I trailed after him, attempting to keep my tone light. "Everything all right?" He pivoted gradually, his gaze icy. "Sure. I'm just curious about one thing," he murmured. "How exactly do you know?" "He's bigger." My stomach nodded instantly. It felt like all the oxygen had disappeared. "What?" I stuttered, letting out an uneasy chuckle. "Ryan, that was only a silly comment." He remained unsmiling, simply holding my stare. "No," he replied deliberately. "You phrased it as though you were certain. So tell me, how are you certain?" My throat turned parched. I attempted to brush it off as merely a common nickname that gets tossed around, but my explanation rang hollow even to my own ears. His expression stayed hard. He never raised his voice. Somehow that quiet intensity stung far more. He appeared wounded, nearly devastated. He dragged his fingers through his hair and began walking back and forth. "Did you honestly believe that was amusing? Throwing that out there with everybody listening? You humiliated me, Sarah." My words faltered. "Ryan, it was innocent fun. Everyone was cracking up." He met my eyes then, and the pain reflected their churn my insides. "Right," he whispered. "Everyone except the man you married." Then he snatched his car keys and left the house. I remained frozen in place, pulse pounding, staring at the shutting door and suddenly grasping that I'd harmed something I hadn't realized could break so easily. That night dragged on forever. I kept checking my phone endlessly, dialing his number, sending pleading messages, urging him to return. No response came. Eventually I drifted off, only to dream of his repeated question, "How do you know?" The next morning, still shaken, I phoned Jake to find out whether Ryan had reached out to him. He answered hesitantly. "Sarah," he began. "Ryan stopped by a little while ago. He didn't talk much, just wanted to know if anything had ever happened between you and me." My chest caved in. A single reckless remark had planted seeds of doubt about my faithfulness in my husband's mind. Ryan returned home the following evening quite late, eyes red-rimmed, speaking in a subdued tone. "Do you even realize how that comment landed?" he questioned. "Can you imagine what it's like hearing your own wife describe another guy that way?" I dissolved into sobs. It was idiotic. I never intended any harm. He gave a slow nod, not forgiving, but acknowledging that spoken words can't be taken back. "This isn't really about your intentions, Sarah," he told me. "It's about what those words exposed." That statement broke something inside me, because I understood precisely what he was implying. He wasn't accusing me of actually being unfaithful with Jake. It was the instant he recognized me as someone who could publicly shame him, someone ready to fire off a flippant quip purely for the sake of laughs. That truth hurt worse than anything. In the days that followed, I poured every effort into reconnecting with him, preparing the dishes he loved most, repeating apologies endlessly, trying every possible way to prove my regret was genuine. Yet Ryan remained withdrawn, remote, impossible to read. Then, one evening, I discovered him seated alone outdoors in the darkness, gazing into nothingness. I settled next to him without a sound, terrified of choosing the wrong phrase. After an extended quiet, he finally spoke. I've honestly never measured myself against other guys before. But that evening, for the very first time, I felt insignificant. Not on account of Jake, but because of you. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I'm so sorry, I breathed. You never deserved to be treated that way. You've always made me feel valued. He shifted to face me, his tone unsteady. So why did you have to turn me into the target of the joke? Those words struck deeper than I'd anticipated. I came to see that I'd become far too casual with my teasing and banter, losing sight of how profoundly it could injure the one person who cherished me above all. The stillness afterward felt oppressive, yet it didn't signal the end. Gradually, he extended his hand toward mine. I sensed the slight shake in his fingers. I refuse to let this ruin us, he said. But I can't stay with someone who treats me with such disregard again. Still crying, I nodded firmly, vowing that I would never again speak without first considering my heart. Several weeks went by before even a hint of normalcy returned. Our discussions grew raw, honest, and sometimes difficult, but real. He confessed that the deepest wound hadn't come from envy, but from the shame. Hearing others laugh along while your wife mocks another man in that context, he explained, is something you can't simply forget. I assured him I truly got it now. I discovered that some laughs come at far too steep a price, particularly when they erode faith. We started piecing things back together slowly, through deliberate and gentle exchanges. Even today, many months on, the memory of that evening lingers vividly. His composed yet piercing tone. How do you know? That question resurfaces in my mind every time I feel the urge to downplay something delicate. I've come to understand that respect doesn't appear in lavish presents or dramatic displays. It reveals itself in the language we select, especially in front of an audience. A single impulsive remark almost shattered our marriage completely. These days, when I gaze at Ryan, I no longer reach for humor. I pay attention. I show affection. And I constantly recall just how narrowly I avoided losing him forever over one fleeting sentence intended only to amuse others.